I live in Worthington, Ohio. In our town, we have the legend of the White Bride. Supposedly in the late 1800s, a wedding was being held in our town square. Through a series of unfortunate events, a horse and buggy ran wildly across the village green and into the wedding party. The bride was instantly killed. Now, the legend goes, if you go to the village green on the anniversary of the tragedy, you can hear the gallop of horse hooves and the scream of the bridge as she was run down. It's a big thing for the kids in our town to gather on the green on this night and see if they can hear it. I grew up in Yonkers, less than a mile from Untermeyer Park. There used to be an old pump house built into one of the steep hills at the edge of the park where the aqueduct is located. That's allegedly where the son of Sam's cult used to worship and sacrifice dogs and deer. It was full of demonic and satanic graffiti and markings. It was called Devil's Cave. There's an old manor house about a 5-minute walk away from my house that's supposedly haunted by a ghost of a tall, shadowy woman in mourning clothes known as the Black Lady. It was founded in the 12th century and later rebuilt around 1587 by Roger Cease. The Cease family moved out in the 17th century and it fell into decay. Legend states that the Black Lady was spotted by men working on the castle in the early 19th century. Here's a picture of the manor house in question. The library in my hometown is attached to a 200-year-old mansion that was said to be haunted. Specifically, the attic, which is huge and shadowy and tends to collect dead pigeons. The local paper even did a story about the supposed haunting with photo proof. The library did lock-in nights in the summer and they'd tell scary stories in the attic, which wasn't so bad because you were with a group. Later I ended up working at the library and would have to go up in the attic alone at night to make sure no one stayed behind after we closed. The attic had a gated stairway with a lock, and a few times when I was up there alone in the house, I'd hear it bang shut. I live in Louisiana, so we have quite a few yarns to spin. My personal favorite is of the Chautauqua Monster in my hometown. The story goes that a circus train was coming along and derailed out in Chautauqua. Now aboard this train was a variety of critters, but the most notorious of them was a freak. It was a cross between a man and beast, yet not quite either, and was terribly ferocious so naturally it was kept in heavy cage in its own rail car. When the train derailed, all the cars went into the woods and killed most of the animals save for a few monkeys that fled to the woods and this creature. Well, the story goes that she could take you a little ride out to the Chautauqua Bridge in the dead of the night. You then kill your truck, wait till the strike of 12. At first, it gets eerily quiet, then you'll start to hear a chittering and howling of monkeys. The branches of the trees start to sway and shake, and by the time you cut your truck back on there will stand the Chautauqua Monster waiting for his next victim. There's a cemetery in the area with a special feature on one of the graves. The coffin is under a large stone and suspended from above ground chains, so it sort of floats below ground level. You can supposedly see the coffin through cracks where the ground has settled around the stone. At one point, there was a bell or bells hung from the chains, but those are long gone. The purpose of this arrangement was that if the person was buried alive, their movement would make the bells ring and they could be disinterred. The legend is that if you go there around the anniversary of the person's death, you can hear the bells ringing. When I was in grad school, there were all sorts of weird rumors about the bodies under the dorms. There's supposedly close to 500 of them, and the school would intensely deny that they were there, but one of my friends supposedly had seen all the files on the locations and whatnot because of an internship she was doing through the MLS program. Fast forward a few years, and a water main breaks under one of the dorms, and we suddenly have to deal with 300 graves they just found under the dorms. The state put up dorms directly on top of a cholera mass grave, which I'm assuming they must have known about. Shadow Sanders. I am from Lower Bavaria, Germany, and there is this city Zolling, which also has a church. Next to the church, there are two spots in the grass where nothing grows. People claim that back in the days, some guy robbed the church and killed the pastor. He fled through the window, and the moment he touched the ground outside the church, he got struck by a lightning and died. Since this day, nothing grows where he touched the ground. This spot is called Teufelstraat, literally translating to Devil's Step. Lansingburg, New York, the old high school. The legend has it that early in the 1900s a teacher went insane and slaughtered as many students as he could with an axe in room 243. This room is haunted at night by the ghost of the teacher, ranting and raving and waving his bloody axe, and by the students running and screaming in panic. Built in 1886, the Ohio State Reformatory was designed to humanely rehabilitate first-time offenders and was initially applauded as a positive step toward prison reform. However, conditions rapidly deteriorated. After 94 years of operation, the prison's legacy became one of abuse, torture, and murder. Denounced by civil rights activists for its brutalizing and inhumane conditions, the prison eventually shut down in 1990. Now, within the decaying walls of this still abandoned prison, the restless spirits of its prisoners and workers are said to still remain confined.